All right, just tell me when you're ready to go.
All right, I am ready to go. Tell me when to record.
Um, we're live.
All right, I am recording. Away we go.
Hello and welcome to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I wonder if I said that in the first one. I can't remember.
Yes, you did.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Did I say American Grief Fact? It doesn't matter. I'm Conlon,
And I'm Nathan.
and for season one of this, me and Nathan are watching network television because we generally don't watch it, because it doesn't fit our lives, and also we kind of see it as lesser art. But here, we're trying to see what millions of people see in these shows. So we are watching three different police procedural television shows. We are watching 2014's NCIS New Orleans, 2008's The Mentalist, and 1984's Miami Vice. So here we have, as we always do, we start with NCIS New Orleans. We have season 1, episode 7, Watch Over Me. Original air date November 11th, 2014, CBS Tuesday. The NCIS team investigates the murder of a Navy officer with the highest level top secret clearance who was recently assigned as a tech liaison with a private developer. Showrunner Gary Glasberg, written by Gary Glasberg and David Applebaum, directed by James Heyman.
Yes. This show starts out with an exciting pre-credits card case that ends in a guy in a Navy uniform crashing into a construction site after being driven into that by a black car and getting impaled by rebar. And then there's bad CGI fire going on there.
Yeah.
So that's how the show starts, and we cut to the credits.
Car chase, explosion, rebar death.
Yep.
Boom, 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 boom.
Rebar death. So this was a good episode. I kind of I liked it. I didn't know what road it was. Again, is there larger implications? It turns out yes. Kind of.
Yeah. Military industrial complex.
Yeah. So we start out with the death of Tim Bell, who's a commander in the U.S. Navy. He gets impaled after a violent car chase where he's driven into a construction site. I think I already said that. And then we have a plethora of suspects.
I can't remember. Did they cut to the scene where Pride's like fixing his car first, or did they cut back to the scene where they see the guy with no shoes? I can't remember. I think it's the car scene first.
Yeah, I think he's working on a Volkswagen Carmen Ghia, which was the first car he bought his wife.
Yeah,
who actually appeared in the last episode, and he's there's a lot of weird like, why are you fixing the car for? Gonna give it back to your wife? It's like, no, I'm gonna sell it. It kind of they go back and forth on that.
Yeah, here literally the car is a metaphor for his marriage
yes.
and whether he's going to let go of it or not. Although the end of the result of that is the opposite of a marriage. Like at the end of this, he'll make money, but at the end of the divorce, he won't.
Yeah. So yeah, we're again we have the classic NCIS misdirect where like who the guy in the car wreck didn't have shoes on. Let's go to his house and they find blood, on the stoop and everything. So it's like, oh, what the hell's going on here? This guy ran out of the house with no shoes on and drove away. And the first person they talk up to is his wife. And, she seems like they were in the midst of a divorce and they think he was fooling around on her.
Don't they find the body in the bathtub first?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. And so they find the body in the bathtub. Yeah, I'm getting tired. They find the body in the bathtub.
Which is like the not necessarily secretary, but somebody he works close with.
Yeah.
And this is where they intimate that there has to be an affair going on because they estimate her time of death to be at 9 a.m. And it's like, why would she be here in the morning unless she's sleeping with a guy? She's naked in the bathtub and shot in the head.
It's like, who did it? Why?
Oh yeah, because the water was still running because like it was like bloody water starts to drip from this chandelier. So. Yeah, that's pretty well. I mean, all that stuff was set up pretty well. It's like, well, that looks awful.
Yeah, suitably because her body's really gray.
Yeah.
blood ran out of it into the tub. She got
and
shot.
it really juxtapose or contrast with the red of the water. It's like that was a good looking dead body.
Yeah. So immediately we suspect like a spurned wife, soon to be ex-wife, who withdraws $20,000 from the bank. And it's like, aha, she paid them with money drawn from a bank account that the government can check on, which is, actually they do catch a lot of people doing that shit. It's like your husband died and you withdraw, a bunch of money. So she's immediately, because she's kind of unsympathetic at first, like towards everything.
Yeah.
But turns out she's not. It was the misdirect. It wasn't her. She actually turns out to be a decent person.
Yeah.
And the lady who got shot in his apartment he was not having an affair with her, but there was an affair going on. But that lady was having an affair with another woman in the office.
Yeah.
So they just worked together a lot. Still doesn't explain why she was at the house, but
yeah, it's like they're supposed to be working on this super secret, like weapon systems or whatever, and it's like they're going to his house to like work after hours on it. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, just work at your office. Like,
this is why the Chinese steal everything.
Yeah, like the amount of security you'd have to go to like take your work home, and the amount of like things that could go wrong with that. It's like it doesn't make any sense. But it was just like it was a misdirect. And it's like, okay, whatever. They're working on it after hours or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and the name of the military contractor is Axelrod.
Does that have any immediate like comparisons?
No, I mean Obama's campaign director was named Axelrod. That doesn't seem to connect.
Okay.
It's just a cool sounding name.
Yeah.
So we pretty much get through the thing where the guy was not having an affair, was not cheating on his wife. And he also had a locket or a pendant that he bought.
Yeah, that was empty.
That was empty, and they're like, so whose picture was going in there? It was all part of that initial NCIS misdirect.
Yeah. Also, here I picked up on LaSalle calls Pride King.
Yeah, I hear that a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
Don't understand what is the meaning behind that?
I'm guessing because he's the king of this castle, I guess, or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
he's probably been calling him that the whole time, but I just kind of like I knew he was talking about pride, but they were just like completely missed the fact that he's calling him king. I was like, what's that about? Don't know yet, but like, yeah, it's just, or maybe it's something that people in Alabama do. I don't know. I don't know if it's a New Orleans thing or an Alabama thing. So.
Yeah. So this was, and then they find what did they do? Upon further autopsy, they find a weird microchip in the lining of his stomach.
Yeah, biodetector or something. They're calling
it basically turns your body into something that, like, whenever it's near an electronic device that can transmit, it starts, broadcasting whatever you're saying or doing.
Yeah,
which is like, that sounds weird, and really didn't. It just, we found it and we know it goes back to the company, but that's it. That's kind of like,
what is it? Is it implied that he swallowed it or that somebody installed it in his body somehow?
Well, apparently this 40-year-old Navy commander was taking blood pressure medicine and it was put in one of the capsules.
Oh, okay.
Which that sounds weird. A 40-year-old guy taking blood pressure medicine that's like in the Navy, but okay, that can happen, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would stop his career or not. Maybe not. I don't know, I guess a lot of people take that. So yeah.
Well, then there's like there's some other guy he's working with who ends up getting killed later on that they think is the first assassin, and then they put the one guy's wife into protective custody, and that's where like there's like intimate that this thing that like she finds solace in pride, and then there's kind of this thing like, will he get together with pride? Will they get together? But he kind of rebukes her, not really advances. She just kind of touched his hand, and he just like, we can't do this.
And then they're talking again, and then he sees the reflection off of a rifle scope and throws her to the ground. This is actually pretty action packed.
Yeah.
Extended shootouts and violence.
Gets shot at with a rifle. Boat goes away. He returns fire with a pistol. No way. He's gonna touch that guy.
Get their head down. Get their heads down. And it turns out the assassin in this well, we'll just say it because I don't remember everything that happened, but the assassin is the chief of security for the Axelrod company.
Yeah.
So it's implied that he has like some kind of mercenary background and he would know how to, kill people like this.
But didn't he like not say anything, but then like the lady ends up incriminating herself because she thinks he was talking. Okay.
Because he did what anyone who had an IQ above 70 would do when they pull you into the room. It's like, oh, we think you killed all these people. We want you to tell us about it. It's like, oh, yeah, ask my lawyer. So that's exactly what he says, but she can't hear what he's saying. So she's like, oh, wait, we didn't know it would go this far. We didn't know someone was going to get killed, because it turns out the reason this Navy guy was killed is he was accidentally sent an email of a failed missile test.
Yeah.
This company was making. So they decide, instead of admitting the failure, we're just going to murder a bunch of people in the Navy who are liaisons to our company, because no one had put that together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forget the locket ends up being the clasp of the locket. It's holding like a SD card.
Yeah, with the image of the missile test.
Yeah.
And by the way, all this stuff's behind like massive encryption and all that, but this one computer guy and his friend can just get through it. And,
yeah, they bring back Patton. He's the computer hacker who's in a wheelchair.
And Lucas's potato salad too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the funny little eccentricities of this show. I like. It's like those weird little.
Yeah, and they're gonna blame it on the. There's like some other guys moving in, and so there's some like Navy guys around the refrigerator, and so he thinks it's them, but it's one of his own team that was eating his potato salad.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the joke from the last episode where he has costume as the Baconator, where he has like bacon pants, and he's dressed up as a Terminator up top, which I thought that was a fun, realistic, stupid joke. It's like, that's stupid, but that's
people would totally do that.
Yeah. It's what makes the characters enjoyable. It's why you watch the show, because you like the characters. But
yeah,
I
can laugh in the face of like horrible death.
Yeah.
In a bathtub, and it looks like the scene from, instead of like fire, it's bathwater. Remember the How to Destroy Angels video where she's just laying there with a bullet hole in her head with a room burning around her, and it's like, oh, somebody, that seems like a visual cue they took from that. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's a cool deal.
This episode did involve the military industrial complex, and it was in somewhat a conspiracy. So it's finally we're reaching out into the world. Things are having an effect on the world.
But it's basically divorce, or I'm sorry, divorce. It's basically corporate greed, and it's hinted at the end of this episode when Pride and Pride and LaSalle are driving around. That is the divorce final? Is Pride actually getting divorced? It's we don't know, but they're driving around in an old convertible, having a good time. By the way, those cars are anything but fun to drive. Because it still has the Volkswagen motor in it, but it's a much heavier body. So it's like, exiting on the freeway, you need like a runway to get up to speed. But that was NCIS, a satisfying episode.
Yeah, which
had enough visuals and stuff in it. I mean, not that I could remember it very clearly for the show, even though I watched it 4 hours ago. I've been watching a lot of things the last 4 hours.
Yeah. So you have The Mentalist, Season 1, Episode 6, Seeing Red. Original air date, November 18, 2008, CBS Tuesday. A wealthy woman is killed in a hit and run. The investigation leads the CBI to a psychic woman the victim regularly visited, whom Patrick, being an ex-psychic himself, suspects of being a con woman. Showrunner Bruno Heller, written by Bruno Heller, Gary Glassberg, yes, that Gary Glassberg who works on NCIS, Ken Woodruff, and directed by Martha Mitchell.
yeah, this was a very satisfying Jane episode.
Yeah.
Because he's dealing with actually what he used to be. Jane does not like charlatans because he knows exactly what they are. And you think he's going to slam dunk this woman and figure out immediately, like, oh yeah, she's the bad guy. She's
Well, yeah, because the show starts out immediately with like the woman that's getting killed is like, no, you're gonna get killed. The psychic telling her that, and then she leaves and gets killed, and it's like, well, it's got to be her.
Yeah.
Although I thought it was interesting that the Christina is the psychic that Jane is Jane's counterpart in this episode. She is a character in regular NCIS. So,
Oh, okay.
so CBS bringing in the regulars to do work on other shows. So.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, once again, Jane goes around the house looking at family photos to solve the crime immediately. But, well, I mean, he suspects things. There really isn't a whole lot of. He doesn't pull out too much information off the photos. It's more of like people's reactions that he pays close attention to. But yeah, he immediately doesn't like Christina. He's basically trying to think of like how he would con people, and then just like that's what she's doing. And sometimes yeah, and then sometimes no. Sometimes yeah.
Most hostile I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
And she always like counters with something like he's not getting through to her because either they're both really good con men or she's a real psychic. I think we know the answer.
Yeah. Especially with this show, it's like no, we know they're con men, but like she ends up like kind of getting the best of him for like for a greater half of the show, and then by the end, it's like, oh, they shouldn't have been like working against each other. But that was the interesting thing. It's like here's his counterpart. Is he gonna lose? And it's like, oh, I guess they're not really working against each other the whole time. But for this episode, that's what makes it a good conflict.
Yeah, and I really actually kind of felt bad for the mom that got run down in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you find out her story is like she's just some upset rich lady whose husband died, and she's just being used by everyone.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend, weirdo Patrick, her children, or one child's like, I don't know if the daughter's really using her. Daughter's everyone was devastated by the death of the dad in this family.
Yeah.
And they all kind of self-destructed in their own way.
Yeah.
Which was sad. But it was also like, but again, with this show, like you suspect everyone. It's like, who's it going to be? The boyfriend seems like a real cock. And that guy, again, it's one of those actors they find. It's like, who would you most like to hit in the face? And I don't know. He's probably a nice guy, but it's like, it's like the Alex Duplass guy. It's like, yeah, him and his brother are great. I like the movies they make, but God, he's just so punchable. You just want to punch the guy when he gives you that smirk. It's like, oh, I'm going to pound your head into your neck. It's like overreacting. Well, this guy had the same look about him. It's like, this guy did it. I want to see his head in a microwave. I know he's evil. So.
But you have like Travis has disappeared at the point he's the son. I think it's Travis. And of course, immediately he's a suspect because he's run away. But they like lure him back in, like Jane lures him back in with a voicemail, and they end up at a carousel. And I just wrote that down. Carousel is like, I didn't pick up any larger meaning to it other than it's just like a cool thing, a cool image to have in the show of a moving
it was
carousel.
filmed kind of neat too because they all get on the carousel. They all know what he looks like, but he doesn't know what they look like. And then he sees them, and he immediately is getting ready to jump off, and Jane stops him. He's like, just enjoy the ride. It's kind of that weird, that has those mind fucks he's always playing.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that, but the mind games he's always playing. So yeah, that was kind of a cool scene. And what was the other thing that stuck out in this? Oh yeah, more Van Pelt BS.
Yeah,
Van Pelt, always the naive believer in Christianity, and she might have a real gift, and everyone's looking at her like, "What? You're allowed to carry a gun? What are you saying?" and she keeps on this train.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a brief conversation and then Jane like uses some wordsmith to be like, no, you're wrong and this is why. It's like, no, she's stuck on the fact this woman might have a beautiful gift about talking to people in the afterlife, and it's just like, okay. But yeah, I guess you have to have that character.
Yeah.
It just seems like the Van Pelt character is continuously used for that.
It seems like, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, her spirituality makes her seem childish, and she's supposed to be like essentially an FBI agent.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't work when paired well together. Maybe we'll find later on that she has some horrific background where it's like, this is why she's spiritual, because her family was murdered around her or something like that. You know?
Yeah, it'll probably be something where everyone will regret. It's like, oh man, I wish I didn't all the time. I didn't know she was coping with the death of loved ones. That's happened to me in real life with people. I've been a real ass, and it's like, his dad died, right? No, nobody told me. Yeah, he got kicked to death by a horse, and you were making jokes about watching people being kicked to death by a horse. Like, what are the chances?
Well, better double down and never admit my mistakes.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. It's funny. Not that it happened to your dad. I didn't see that one. I did like the thing how they figured out how, the mother Rosemary, like they figured out who the boyfriend was also sleeping with because he took a picture of her, and then Jane, of course, found the picture damaged, and it was clearly a woman's high heel shoe. Yeah. The heel went through the head of the picture, and I was like, "Is that a woman's shoe?" And then they said it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Okay, I thought at first it's like that's not a bullet hole. It looks like a woman's heeled shoe. It's like, yeah, it is. And so then they found out who Patrick was sleeping with, which I thought was going to develop into something, but then just kind of proved that what I already knew was like, I don't like this character. And
he's a scumbag, but not necessarily a killer.
Yeah, no, he's a gigolo because they found out he had this huge record of finding older women and showing up when their husbands died and somehow getting millions of dollars. I don't know how that really works, but I've never been a gigolo. Fat gigolo doesn't sound like a recipe for success.
Although the word itself fits.
Yeah, I do jiggle, but not low.
I'm a jiggle high.
I'm a jiggle all around. What was the character in Aqua Teen Hunger Force? The hillbilly. I'm Jiggle Billy. And Action Dave talks him into committing suicide. And he blows his doll head off with a muzzle of like an old school blunderbuss. His head back on. He's like, "Oh, I'm alive again." This has nothing to do with the show. Gigolo. And then the end of the show, when he's talking to Miss Fry again, the supposed psychic, and he's like, "I have a message from your wife." I was like, "Oh, Jane's gonna shut this down." Right. Oh, okay. Well, let's end up.
They have a seance at the reading of the will.
Yeah.
And here it's like
a lawyer's like, this is dumb, but okay.
And here it's kind of a misdirect for the audience because what we think is going to happen is not what's happening. So we are not let in on like what their plan is. So it's kind of, I guess, to kind of just build up the tension. Like when you hear like what's supposed to be Rosemary's voice speaking, it's like, oh, this has got to be bullshit. This can't be happening. It's not. Yeah, but you think that it's being perpetrated by Katrina, but no, it's like the CBI have set this up to be this way.
And she went along with it though.
Yeah,
which was interesting. It's like, oh, okay, maybe she's not evil. So anyway, it turns out the daughter did it.
Yeah. Because she was going to cut Travis out of the will, and she was trying to protect Travis, so she ran over her mom with a car, her own car.
What she did was she went home, and she didn't want to surprise her mom because she lives out of state, I guess. She flew in, and she took the car at the house, which was Travis's. Well, it was really registered to her mom, but it was Travis's. And then she called her mom, and she was kind of in an emotional state, and her mom was in an emotional state. And she saw her mom walk by, and she's like, she's not going to answer my call. Well, fuck you. With this car, which was like, okay, maybe. But she actually gave herself away in the first interview by saying it was horrible that my mom died in the gutter like that. And it's like, how would you know that?
Yeah,
I got run over by a car.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, it's kind of weird because like in other episodes, I feel like when somebody like says something like that, I always wait for like the agents to be like, "We never said that this happened," but here they hold back on that. But that's just a secret for Jane to know. But
well, I picked up on it actually when it really happened. It's like, okay, she knows more than she's saying. I didn't think she actually did.
Yeah.
She knows something about it.
Yeah, it gets like too specific. It's like anytime someone gives too specific in like the interview, it's like, well, you weren't at the scene. How do you know this? It's like, oh, I heard about it. It's like that's something you look for in these shows. It's like like the person saying too much.
Yeah, because these shows are written quickly with I mean, I've seen movie writing that's actually worse than this though. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they do that in that one episode where it's like. It's the deputy that did it, where like Lisbon asked the guy, it's like, what do you think's going on here? And the guy basically says what everyone thinks was going on. And it's like, we never said that's what happened. It's like, don't assume anything. And of course, that's the guy that perpetrated it. But yeah, it's slightly different there because she's not interrogating someone. She's just asking another agent about what they know.
Yeah. Now, so anyway, at the end of this episode, we have almost like a right to the credits scene where Bry and Jane are talking, and she's like, yeah, your wife wanted me to tell you something. I thought he was going to shut this down.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is where Jane, because it's something about him, and he knows everything about him, and, like, you're not going to bullshit him. And then she just says this horrible line, like, she wanted you to know that your daughter never woke up when the murder was going on, which is like so dark and strange to even think about, because this happened to his wife and daughter.
Yeah.
But it's you don't really like know the details. You don't really want to know the details, and that's like a weird thing to put in. And he actually I think she left the room.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say. And then Van Pelt sees him crying and just closes the door.
Yeah.
Which is like, ooh, that's dark, that's this,
because
that whole concept of your daughter she went to sleep and she was just butchered and didn't wake up, which is good, but also still horrible.
Yeah, because it's like the kind of the first time we actually see like emotions on Jane that are like genuine and not manufactured.
Yeah, because he's not he's a reformed charlatan, or is he?
Now we show 3, Miami Vice, season 1, episode 7, No Exit. Is that the one you have?
Yes, that's the one I have.
Okay.
Also known on TV, it was the title episode was Three-Eyed Turtle.
Oh right.
Yeah,
well, it got changed. Oh, you tell it.
No, it got changed when it went into syndication and on VHS DVD. What is the reasoning behind that?
Because it was like referred to like a sex position or something.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the trivia I saw. Original air date November 9th, 1984, NBC Friday. Crockett and Tubbs reluctantly help government agents in their pursuit of a dangerous arms dealer. Showrunner Michael Mann. This is really when he takes over, because this is the episode that Yurkovic leaves, although it still has him being written by Yurkovic, David Soul, Charles Linenweber, and Joel Sunrow. Directed by David Soul, which I believe that is Hutch from Starsky and Hutch.
Okay. Yeah, but this is kind of the start of the Miami Vice, like the big arcs I'm talking about.
Yeah,
where we have the government involved and really crazy shit.
Unlike NCIS, this has wide-reaching implications.
And really, I mean, for something that happened, let's see, 1985. So that's, long time ago. It's scary by today's standards. The kind of shit, the story premise here, is because it's Bruce Willis is an arms dealer. This is Bruce Willis with hair.
His first credited role. There's some stuff before this, but he is not credited. I think he's like a background extra, but this is his first credited role.
Yeah, and he does a good job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say like what a standout performance. He's just kind of like an asshole. But actually, I think his best part is like at the end when he's like, "Oh, you're gonna let me go, huh? Okay." Well, like when he perks up, and it's like, "Haha, this is coming my way." That was like kind of like, okay, yeah, that's Bruce Willis being Bruce Willis, because like I don't necessarily like him when he's being a terrible asshole in the rest of this episode, but anyway.
But he's good at it.
Yeah,
I believe he's that guy.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this is why this guy is not only a corrupt arms dealer, a merchant of death, but he also beats his wife and psychologically does mind tricks to her and pushes her in their weird indoor-outdoor pool.
Yeah,
fully clothed.
Like, get dressed. No, don't get dressed. Oh, I'm not going to the ball with you. You don't want to go. You're going. No, you're not going. It's like hugely manipulative asshole. So, which is true. Yeah. Here we have I have written old people stake out. They're staking out like gun runners, but then it's just like, but the deal's going down at an old folks home or whatever.
It's 102 degrees. Guys are like in vans and buildings and sitting in open top cars. It's like, that sounds miserable.
But like almost everybody, like even Castillo's like doing surveillance, right?
Yeah, he's in on it.
But I think like the deal's not going to happen. But then a van pulls up, and then it seemed like Crockett was driving away to pick up Tubbs, but then he like does a U-turn to the park behind the van, and they start to do a deal, but then it goes sideways. And then they whip out a machine gun and just start shooting up the place.
2 machine guns. They have a like some kind of submachine gun, and I didn't really know what kind it was. It looked like a MAC-10, something like that. And then when they get into the van, they have a full-on M60.
Yeah.
They're firing out of the back of this van. And it's like, oh, that's a weird tone. What does that mean? And because Crockett was there to buy hand grenades off these guys.
Yeah.
Which is like not something readily available, even in America, folks, even now. But so then, they're trying to, they capture one of the guys, and he gives up the names of the other 2 guys, and they find out about the Tony Amato, the Bruce Willis character, who's a much larger arms dealer. And
I have to admit, I like the line after Tubbs gets shot at by a machine gun. He gets up all angry. He's like, it's like when I get scared, I get angry. And he says, "Machine guns affect my ability to perform." It's a good line.
Which is like, yeah, probably a good thing.
It's probably true of everybody.
Yeah. But then like this thing happens where they Tubbs goes undercover playing was he playing a Jamaican character this time?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much always a Jamaican character, but
and then it turns out these people have Stinger missiles, like they stole from a National Guard armory, which that's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Put it at the end of a runway and shoot down commercial aircraft with those all day long. And I like the weird conspiracy things when he goes and meets the guys that are demonstrating the missiles.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you press this button up here, it disarms the warheads. Like, why would you do that? It's like, so it just hits the plane and structurally damages it and knocks it out of the sky. But no explosion, no evidence. And it's like, is that true? And I couldn't find out. But
yeah.
It's like, well, that's a pretty weird idea. I never thought of that. I forgot about that. And so then they go set up the guy's house,
the Bugga's house. I have your listed Lester the tech guy. Does he continually show up in the rest of the series?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
I think I don't want to ruin it for you, but yeah,
right.
He does. What's that guy's name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, he can bypass his security system and puts, by today's standards, huge listening devices all over this guy's house. And I like how the book in the house they find, they say it's called Arsenal of Democracy. You can buy things out of it. I actually have that book. It's from the 80s. It's like basically a book that where'd you get those at? I don't know. My neighbor had a.
Is this like the Jane's book where it's like military equipment?
It's not Jane's. It was actually they were hardback books put out by the Department of Defense in the 80s, and they essentially were handed out to people that either worked in the Pentagon or worked in it just basically like people that worked in the government.
Yeah.
And it was like the state of American, aircraft and weaponry, 1985. Like, this is where your tax dollars are going. My neighbor had a yard sale and he was selling a bunch of those because his wife used to work for the government. And they had, so I have that one. It's not called Arsenal of Democracy. I forget what it says on the front, but it's like, I've got that book in my basement. And then they have the counterpart of the Russian book, and this is from the 80s. So it talks about these Russian weapon systems in the 80s that we now know were garbage, but it talks about them like, oh, we are just a stone's throw away from being annihilated without warning by the Soviets. Because remember, the Department of Defense was pushing this out mainly to scare people and vote for, budget increases in defense spending. So that's what that book was. But I actually paused it and like, oh, wait a minute, I have that book. So that was kind of funny. Because I'm into weird shit like that.
But while they're on the stakeout of the house, they find out they're being watched too.
Like government agents. Who are you guys with? It doesn't matter. That comes out a bunch. I think they say eventually they're FBI. But
yeah, I have here written feds show up. So
yeah.
Because at the end of the episode,
yeah,
even they are pissed off because another higher power oversees them. So
yeah. So we're going to say they're FBI for the sake of the story. But yeah, that's a real scary scenario. It's like, oh, we got Stinger missiles. We can sell them to anyone. It's like, oh shit.
So like, how they get it? These guys are former National Guard and just stole it from the armory.
Yeah.
Which I think you had like a story. I'm not sure if it was recent or if it was about the past, about like guys who did that, just robbed the National Guard armory.
No,
they just got
like guys.
Oh, okay.
They stole the what's the gun called? The something Bravo.
Oh, M240 Bravo, yeah.
Yeah, they stole like 3 of those from the Air Force, but they like opened the boxes carefully and just took them and then put the boxes, like they restacked them on the bottom or whatever, and it took a year. And when they did an physical inventory, they found 3 of those were missing. It was all over the news because there was like 3 of them missing and a bunch of ammo. And it's like, oh, these guys could just stage a massacre. Like if they put one of these out into the public, it's like, yeah, that's a highly destructive device.
Oh yeah, M240 Bravo was no joke.
But they found them. It was in their trailer or something, and like underneath it, because they knew, okay, who worked here. And they just check them out, get a search warrant for everyone's house, and we're just going to go kick indoors because these weapons are floating around. And they found him like 4th guy down the list, and he's in prison for 25 years. Yeah. But that's happened. What are some other stories? There were people in the 80s that did steal stuff from the National Guard, but it wasn't Stinger missiles. It was just like M16s and a bunch of bullets and grenades.
Yeah, because like we were a maintenance company unit, so like our armory didn't have like law rockets or anything like that. The only thing was we had like the Mark 9, it's Mark 13 or Mark 9, I can't remember. That's the automatic grenade launcher. Like we had that in the inventory, but we had no ammo for it. We just had the weapon. But yeah, we had saws, M240s, and like hundreds of M16s. That's what was there. But yeah, we didn't have anything like, there was no rockets in our armory. But so those have to be like a National Guard that was like infantry or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know if they have that stuff. Things like Stinger missiles, because I remember from Charlie Wilson's War, which talked a lot about Stinger missiles. One of their biggest fears was these can't get out in the wild. Like, as if the Mooj won another one, they have to bring us the empty tube from the last one. We're not going to give them 50 of them and be like, go have fun. No, we want these tubes back because we knew they could sell them to people who'd shoot down like Israeli planes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know those are very, very destructive. It took a long time to get them right, but it's like the guy said in the show, and he was right. It's like, oh, someone with a high school dropout could operate one of these. They're pretty straightforward. Except back then, I think the batteries tended to explode on them if you stored them too long and turned them on. Like the batteries would catch on fire. But yeah, so that was kind of cool. And then they supposedly fired one off. They fired. He fired it, and then they cut to some stock footage
Yeah.
of it being fired, and then it just hits something in the sky and like shot sideways. It's like, I don't know what they just shot at.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a plot point. It was like, that's weird. Just gonna fire a Stinger missile off.
Yeah, because it seemed like they were like wait for it, but like he didn't actually like hit anything. He just fired the missile off. But like they try to intimate that he was shooting at something, but
yeah.
unless he just hit a bird.
So Bruce Willis's wife, I'm just going to keep calling him Bruce Willis, Bruce Willis, but his wife Rita, because they've got his phones and everything all monitored in his house, and she's trying to call a hitman to kill her wife. No, Rita is trying to have her husband killed. That's what I'm trying to say. And Crockett hears that. So
like the lady on the other is like, "Do you want me to set up a meeting?" And then Crockett's the only one that interprets it as a hit.
Oh.
And then so he convinces everybody, like, no, it's a hit, and he's gonna like intercept the and pretend to be the hitman.
Yeah. So and of course they establish a relationship when he does that, because he feels a lot of sympathy for her, because he hears her being slapped around and abused on their stakeout all the time.
Because afterwards, after they basically kind of have her on their side, he's surveilling them, and then like Bruce Willis's character basically beats the shit out of her and presumably rapes her. But they don't show that, and like Crockett just has to like stay there. He just has to like watch it. Actually, he turns away from it, but like he can't do anything because they gotta like the end game is that we catch this guy in the act or whatever. And also during this scene, they play a love song over it, which is just wildly crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's effective, but it's like, oh, this is discordant. Like, this doesn't belong together.
So then they set up a buy, and they're going to buy these Stinger missiles on a ship. And now doesn't Bruce Willis find one of the bugs in his house?
Yes.
Smashing a phone? Yeah, okay. So then he's...
Because that's when like Tubbs has to like make a call, and he has to pretend like, hey, there's a tail on me. It's like, what kind of outfit you're running here? And Bruce Willis is like, I can't talk over the phone. Me at the place that we live. Because also the feds want to move up the deal as quick as possible, and now it's like because they want to catch this guy, but now they have to move the deal up, but Tubbs has to act like as anxious and conspiratorial as Bruce Willis's character to keep his cover. Yeah.
So then they have the weird Stinger buy. Well, I like the meeting in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Where Bruce Willis throws Tubbs against the wall and checks him for a wire. And so then Tubbs gets pissed off and turns around and grabs him and throws him into the sink. Well, I'm going to check too. It's just dual paranoia. And so they go on the ship so he can buy the Stinger missiles, which the FBI shows in way too early and almost blows the bomb. Almost gets everyone killed, Tubbs mainly, because they're... they show up and everyone just starts shooting everyone. And I think like two FBI agents get shot. I don't know if they get killed, but yeah, because the one guy with the little MAC-10 machine gun, he's out there just blazing away with that. I like how the squibs went off too early on one of the cars. Did you?
Yeah.
It was like, something went off too early.
No, it's a TV show. We only got one setup, so that's the shot we're using.
So then everyone surrenders that's left alive, and they're taken the next day. They have a discussion with the lieutenant, and then it's like, okay, we're taking him into court to be arraigned and charged. And Tubbs and Crockett are walking him into court and with the FBI guys or outside the courthouse, and then the CIA shows up, and it's like he's being released. And here's the court order, and even the FBI guys are like, what the fuck, It's like we've got the Stinger missiles, And it's like, why is he being released? And then a conversation that would never happen with the CIA guy is like, well, he supplies stuff to other factions in Central and South America that's helping us. Like, those guys would never explain anything like that. It's like, it's coming with us. Because that would totally tip their hand. And then like these guys could testify to that later. But it doesn't matter, because then Rita shows up and shoots Bruce Willis to death. We
Presumably.
don't see it though.
They have an awkward freeze frame at the end where Crockett's like, no.
Yeah. It even says in the description, Crockett is ineffectual in trying to stop her. Now I heard they shot the scene where she actually shot him, but the censors or whatever said that's too close. We don't want that.
Huh.
So I don't know if that's true or not though. I think they didn't do that because it saved them a lot of money. Not having to have a stunt double for Bruce Willis fall down marble steps with giant, bullet holes in them.
Or mistimed squibs.
Or mistimed. Yeah, maybe the squibs went off before she had the gun out. But it was weird because the way she was walking up, like she had the gun in her purse.
Yeah.
Out of a cab, but then she's like holding it, like walking up to
two
cops, 2 FBI agents, 2 CIA guys, and none of them notice. It's like, hey, why does this lady got a gun in her hand? What's gonna happen? I don't think anything good's gonna happen here, but it's 80s TV.
Yeah, she says like you're gonna let him go, and then that's just she can't handle that.
Yeah, and good for her. This is the second time a spouse of a victim of something has shot or of a crime or their spouse was a victim of a crime or whatever has shot someone in this show. They really got, because remember the gambling show? The guy's husband shoots the guy, and it's like, yeah, they really got to work on protecting their witnesses, people they've arrested for crimes. But yeah, this is the beginning of the in Miami Vice. This is the theme that runs through the whole show, because you're either dealing with the DEA who are corrupt, the government who's corrupt. It's what I call the outer darkness. The darkness that surrounds Miami. Sometimes a tentacle reaches in. It's like, why are these guys getting away with this? Well, because they work for the government. The government's always doing something evil.
I mean, it's because like all these government guys, because they have like such a large overview, like they never are personally attached to anything. Whereas like our vice cops here, they're personally attached to everything.
Yeah, they build relationships with people to arrest them and stuff, but they actually care about them unless they're just evil murderers. It's like, oh, he's a fun guy. We've already seen that in Miami Vice. It's like, well, we like this guy. He's a crook, and then he just gets blown away. It's like, oh. And then they fall in love with somebody, and it's like, oh no, they're evil. They killed someone, or these guys just fall in love with the wrong people. It's like a beautiful, mysterious woman who's involved with drug dealers and probably will kill someone. You should see this coming.
So if you like what you listen to, and how couldn't you, you can find this podcast. I mean, you already listened to it, but you can go to our webpage at anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect. The way I like to remember how it's spelled is Verho, Verho, and then even at the end. That's how you spell Verhoeven, and then Effect. You can also get there through verhoeveneffect.com. If you're on Google, it'll ask you like, this is risky. You can just send anyway. It's cool. It sends it to the exact same place. We have a listener support page where it's a monthly fee of 99 cents, $4.99 or $9.99 tiers. If you like what you heard, we'll do more of it faster. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.
Sorry about the swearing on that episode.
That's fine.
I got a little out of hand.